Hello to everyone, my name is Jose from Medusa Digital, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a virtual tour from scratch. But at this point, I suppose you have already read the manual, which has like the very detailed steps on what you should do in order to create a VR tour. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume you already have downloaded any 360 photos from Google, or you have already used the Stitch app in your Android phone in order to create a 360 image from yourself, or perhaps you already have a 360 camera and you only have to use those photos you're taking with your camera. In any case, um, I'm gonna suppose already that you have downloaded the Unity Hub as detailed in the tutorial, and I'm just gonna begin using Unity in order to create the VR tour. So to begin, I have to tell you that you must already have installed this Unity Hub, and what you actually need to have is at least this version of Unity, which is a 2020.3.8 F1, or at least something related to 2020 Unity version. This is very important because Unity versions actually do differ between each other. They are not like completely different, but yes, there's a difference between Unity versions. In this case, we're using this tutorial based on the 2020.3. And there's something very special that I have to tell you is that if you see here, you can add modules. You're gonna see that you must have already some things installed. In this case, you should have installed the Microsoft Visual Studio Community 2019. This should be already installed in your program, and you should have installed maybe Android build support. We're not actually going to need it in this tutorial. Neither WebVGL support, neither Windows build support. The only thing you actually need to have installed is the Microsoft Visual Studio Community. This is very important because we need to code a little bit, just a little bit, don't worry. But we need this program specifically to code what we need to code, or to program as you wish to say it. In any case, just make sure you have installed. I already have it installed. Um, so please, now let's create a new project. What we're gonna do is just to create a new project. In here you'll see which version you're using for your project. In this case, it's telling me that this thing is using Unity 2021. I don't want 2021. I actually want um, the 2020. So I actually typed in here new. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna click in this arrow, and it's gonna tell me, okay, in which of the two Unity versions that you have installed you wish to proceed. So I wish to proceed with the 2020.3.8. So now make sure this looks exactly like here, or at least is a 2020 version, and it's gonna tell you, okay, so which template you want to use. You know, template is some pre-made scenario that Unity has already built for you in case you actually want to build a 2D game, or you want to use a 3D game with a very cool graphics or extra cool graphics, even better, or if you want to create a virtual reality template for a virtual reality application. So in here you should actually just type the one you want. In order to create like a virtual tour, we're going to use the 3D template, and in here you can just type the name. You know, I'm just gonna type it like VR tour sample, and you should choose a location. In the case, I'm gonna choose the Unity location. This is the best. This is the location that best suits to me. And now I'm just gonna click on create. Then it's gonna take a while, but it's gonna finally going to open Unity. Okay, so if you did everything right, you should be seeing this view where you have the sample scene here. You'll see your scene here, and you have this just blank template we can modify to create our first virtual tour. So let's begin with this. The first things we're gonna do is we have to change the samples, this sample scene name into something we can recognize, and then you can do so by clicking on assets, just in scenes, and then we're just gonna have you can do two things. You can actually do like a right clicking here and then just choose the rename property here, or we can just double click the on on this icon, and I'm just gonna rename this as scene 1. I actually prefer to not add any spaces into the name. This is why I'm using this low dash like in here, so there are actually no spaces in the name. And now this once I click OK or enter, this is gonna prompt Unity is gonna prompt me to reload scene. This is what I'm gonna do now, and now this scene is called scene 1, as you can see. So there is something that we can do that we have to do first, and is that we have to create virtual, well, we have to show our 360 images that we already have done in here. As you can see, in this scene, we have like a very beautiful blue sky. This is a background image actually, and we need to replace this background image for our 360 images because we don't want to see a blue sky. We want to see our 360 images. So to do so, we're going to click in here in assets, and I'm going to create just a new folder, and I'm going to call it images. So what I'm going to do in there is that I'm going to load into the images folder. Let's double click in here. I'm going to create, I'm going to copy and paste the images that I have selected for this tutorial. In this case, I have it in here. I have this picture I took when I was in Argentina a couple of years ago. And I'm going to use another image that is called where are you? There you are. This is another image I took when I was in Milan, and these are both 360 images. Just to remind you what a 360 image is, it's just an image that usually has it's called also spherical. It's called the spherical panorama. And what I'm actually doing, I don't know if it's gonna be showing you in the video, but what I'm actually doing is I'm just dragging and dropping the image from my folder. I have my image saved in a folder. I'm just dragging and dropping the folder. I'm just dragging and dropping the image into the images folder. I'm not doing anything else. Just drag and drop, and then you'll see your images in here. Okay. So as you can see, we have these images. My images are 2000 times 1000 pixels, which is what we call the equirectangular image, and this is specifically useful for VR tours. This format, which is twice as long and once as high. So if I see the image from Mendoza, it's exactly the same. It's more or less the same resolution. So we're good to go. So now we have our images. What do we do now? How can we put our images in here in this beautiful blue background? So what we're gonna do is that we need to create something that Unity understands, that is an image for our background. For to do so is and we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it material. So what's the difference between a material and my image? Okay, so the difference is basically that our image, Unity does not understand what this is. Unity knows that this is a picture. We know this is a picture. We know it is a 360 picture, but Unity doesn't know that. Unity knows it's a picture, but it does not know it's an equirectangular picture. It does not know that it is a 360 picture, so we need to let Unity know it is something we're going to use for our VR tour. So how do we explain that to Unity? We explain it creating a material. So now I'm going to create a new material in here. I'm just going to right click in here into this material, a folder. I'm just going to create, and I'm going to add material, and I'm going to name it environment 1. Good. And I'm going to do something very particular in here. So in here, I'm going to tell Unity that this material is actually a background, an environment material. So I'm gonna click in here where it says standard. Okay, let's just let the Unity think whatever he wants to think. Okay, so now we need to tell Unity that this material is actually a skybox, and that is a panoramic skybox. Which this means is that we're telling Unity that this material is actually a material that can be used as background. There are several kinds of materials. There are materials for for elements in the video game, like for instance, you have a ball, or if you have a square, or you have a cube, or you have something else, these are different materials for different game objects. In this case, the game object we're creating here is a background, and we need to tell Unity that this image is actually a background image, and we do so by assigning this skybox panoramic feature to this to this feature. So now I'm going to right click again. I'm going to create another material, and then I'm going to call it environment 2. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to tell Unity that this is also um, a skybox panoramic material. This is actually telling Unity that our material is also from the environment, but this is actually the property of our image. Our image, I'm telling you, is a panoramic image. 360 images have several, well, we can say so. 360 images have several ways of well, so have several ways of of being, well, there's several presentations that we can say so. So we can have 6-side uh, spherical images, we can have cube map spherical images, and we have panoramic spherical images. So panoramic spherical images are the one that we have because panoramic images have this feature that they have more or less always this resolution, 2000 times 1000 or 4000 times 2000. It's always like a 2-to-1 ratio. So this kind of images is called panoramic, and I suggest you to understand this very clearly, because this is not the only way the 360 images are done. There's a there's another form of presenting 360 images, and it's called 6-cube, which is it's like a cross shape image. And this cross shape image, we might not see it like a 360 image, but we can tell Unity to understand that this cross shaped image is a 360 image. And this cross shaped image, it's like I'm telling you again, it is another way of presenting um, the 360 image, and this is what we call a cube map image. Right now, like I'm telling you, we're using panoramic image because they have exactly this shape. But it's not the only way. It's not the only shape 360 images have. I just want you to remind that in the future. I suggest to work always with this kind of pictures, because it's easier for us to understand actually what this image is about. And now, okay, well, we already have the environment material, which is the way we let Unity know that this is an environment an environment material. And what we have to do now is we have to assign the image to this material. So right now we have created two materials that will be used for backgrounds, and now we need to add the image that is gonna. Now we need to add the image that is gonna be that we will be seeing as a background. And now we're gonna click in here and select, and I'm gonna add this Mendoza image. And what this does is that, as you'll see, we have assigned our 360 image to the skybox panoramic material. And now this is how this is gonna be looking once we import our material into our background environment. And this is how it's gonna be looking like. You'll see right in the down in the in this little square. This is how we will see it eventually in here in the background and environment. So um, so well, now let's do exactly for the same environment material. This is the second environment material we have created, and we want the other image to be appearing in this material. So now we have the materials. How do we assign these environment materials to our scene? So the most easiest way is just to type in here into window. Then we're going to type into rendering and then lighting. Once we are in lighting, what I suggest is just to click on here and then just drag and drop in here into this panel in here to the right. And now this is just to make things a little bit more clear to understand and to present. So now what we need to do is we need to click in here in environment, and as you'll see, uh, this skybox material, it says this skybox material, which is blue, very beautiful, is this one. Is this one that you see here, which is a default environment that that Unity uses as in any template. Now we need to substitute this skybox material for the ones that we have just created. So to do so, we can just type in here in the plus, and we can look for our materials in here. So as you see, if I just slide into this, I move this slider, I can get into my environment material. I just click on it, and immediately what happens? You will see it in the scene. So um, we have just created our first we have used our first environment material, which is this one. As you can see, if you right click in your mouse, you can just actually just move around, and you see how this is going to be looking in your video game. But right now, I have to explain you something very important, is that Unity shows you two different two different view modes. This view mode is called scene, and which this means is that this is where you're gonna be building your video game. This is like your video game editor, and then scene is your video game editor, and then if you type in game, this is actually how your game will look like once you export it into your VR headset or a web into a website, or if you use it as a Windows app, as a Windows software, as you wish to export it. The thing is that this in-game view is how you're gonna how this is gonna be seen once you export to your application, and this is where you edit everything. The thing is that these are not the same views. In here, I actually add all the elements I need in my video game, and in here is just like a preview. It's like a preview on how the video game will be seen. Like you see, if I click in here, if I right click in here, it does not do anything. Why? Because we need a Unity is very smart, but and it's very practical to use. But you need to tell Unity exactly what you want him to do. So if you want to move around, you have to tell Unity that you want to move around, and you do so by coding. I would like Unity to be much modern in the future, so it actually understands that this is a 360 image that I want to I don't know, like to use to make a VR tour. But Unity is not that smart so far, so we need to tell Unity what this is, and we need to tell Unity that we need to move around in here, and so we can rotate the game view as well. So we need to make Unity understand this. So to do so, we're going to create a script. This script is gonna let us create well, it's gonna let us tell Unity what we want to do. So please just go and click in here in Make Camera, and let's go here into Inspector tab in here, and now let's just add a component. If we add the component, what we can do is um, we need to create a new script. I'm gonna call it view around. And let's be honest, if you're gonna do this, please just make sure to use exactly the same syntax as I'm using. So you will always have like if you use exactly the same syntax in like the lowercase, everything in lowercase letters, then it's gonna be easier for you that Unity understands what you're doing. Why? Um, well, this is basically because syntax is very important in Unity, as we're going to code. And if I, for instance, I declare a script that is called be around, And if you maybe in your application you don't call it be around, you call it be around there, for instance, or if you call it be around with a big B in the end, then as we code, Unity will not understand your name because the code that I'm using is actually used for exactly for this name exactly. So now we'll just call it here be around, and I'm going to to type in here new script. Make sure to use exactly the same syntax, please. This is gonna do create and add. This is gonna create a script in here in the assets folder. It's gonna be called be around, and now we need to code a little bit just so Unity knows exactly what to do now. So I'm just gonna double click in here. And you might not see this, but just wait for this gonna be opening the Visual Studio Editor. Just wait until the Visual Studio Editor has ended up loading. And now what we're going to do is just to type some code, right? Okay, so once Unity loads the Visual Studio Community 2019, you should be seeing well this something like this. This is the name of the script we have just created, and remember, it has exactly this syntax, which is everything in lowercase letter. Um, Remember that this is very important, as you'll see, the code that is created is referencing this exact name. So if you change your name, just make sure to change in here according to how you named this script, please. If you name your script view, only view, then just try to add here only view, but just please adapt your code to your name here so it actually works. I actually have my code in here. I'm just gonna erase everything here, and I'm just gonna paste my code. I already had it prepared for this tutorial. And so try just please to copy this code into here, so it looks exactly as in here. You could see that it here has 0, 0, 0 errors, and that you can use it for Unity. So yes, this is the first script you need to do. And now what I want to do is just to save this to save this script, and I'm going to go back to Unity. Okay, so now thanks to this script that we have just created, now Unity understands what we want to do. As you can see in our game editor view, we can move around freely, but we couldn't do it in the game view. So what we have added now is just a script that allows Unity to understand that once we're in game view, the camera should be moving freely, so we can see everywhere around. So in order for you to see how this script has changed our game view, you can click in here on this play button, and then you can just go back into you gotta make sure that you're in the game view, and just please click left click on your button uh, on your mouse button, left click on your mouse button, and you can move around. You can go up, down, left, everywhere. So now this looks much more closer to your game editor view, which is this one, where you can right click and just move around, but now you can do it in your game view. It is important that you understand the difference between both, because in the game view is the one that you will it is the actually like a preview or on how your game um, will be looking actually once you export it to your VR headset, or to an Android game, or a web app, or Microsoft software. So in the end, this preview is very important for you to know that you are doing things correctly. Now let's unclick this. Let's just stop this simulation. Then just go back to our game editor view. And we need to do something else now. So now we have created, we have our background here, which is our 360 image. We have told Unity how to move the camera once we're in game view. Now we need to add a button. To do so, let's just click in here into the hierarchy panel, which is this one, and then just add a UI, which is user interface, and then let's add a button in here. So as you can see, Unity has created a button in here, but there's always a but. It has located this button wherever they want it, So we want this button to be centered in the scene. For instance, the center of the scene should be position 0, 0, 0, 0, and instead this thing is 366, 157, and 0. So we want everything to be 0. So in order to use a button, the best recommended thing in virtual reality is to, like in here in Canvas, we put world space, and that we just drag and drop this camera in here, and now we have that camera. And now we can edit this position into the 0, 0, 0 space. I usually do it by clicking here on these three dots and then just reset. Then it's just in the 0, 0, 0 position. Then just go to button and make sure to do exactly the same. Go reset, and then it's just very well centered this button in the scene. If I click on the main camera, you'll see that now the main camera is seeing the button. Like you will see it here. Remember that you can move around your game editor view using your mouse. Right click, you can just move like here, like this. If you use the scroll, if your mouse has a scroll wheel, then you can just you can move like this in the space. So in the end, what we want to do is just to relocate this button to wherever we want when then it looks good. Now I'm gonna use this arrow. Just click it with your left button click, and then just I'm so sorry. No, just I'm not doing it right. I'm just clicking canvas. Remember canvas, and now I'm just gonna push that button back in there. If I go to the game view, you'll see that the button is already there. Now what we need to do is once you moved it, once you push it to the back, just change the text of that button. You can do so by clicking in text in here, and then I'm just gonna name it go to scene 2. That's it. And now we need to tell Unity exactly how to do it in order to go to the scene 2. Remember, Unity is very smart, but not as smart to understand exactly and intuitively what to do. We have created a button. Now we need to tell Unity that this button we want Unity to go to scene 2. So we need to make Unity understand that once we click in here, we need to go to scene 2. How to do so? We're going to create a script. Before we created a script to tell Unity that they need to move around in the game view area, and now we need to Unity to understand that this button needs to send us to the scene 2. So we need to create, first of all, go to the hierarchy panel, which is this one. Let's create an empty object, and let's call it change scene. Okay, and now in here, let's add a script. Add component, and we have to make a script called change scene, and then we're gonna click on new script, and then we're gonna click on create and add. Now we have created a second script. What to do now? Let's just wait for Unity to reload, and now what we need to do is to um, just double click on this script so we begin modifying it on Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, right? So let's go to that. Let's just double click and then just go there. Okay, so now we are in our change scene in Unity Editor. What we need to do is we just erase all of this, and please, what I want you to do right now is to write the code just as I'm gonna write it. I have already the code mm, somewhere in my computer, so I'm gonna just copy paste it. But please, in your case, just please write everything like it is in here, so it looks exactly like in here. And well, just bear in mind that if you change the name of change scene again, like if your script has another name, please just make sure that in here in the public class you add exactly the same name as your Unity script. Otherwise, Unity is not going to understand what you're doing, and then it's not going to do anything in your VR tour. So please, again, just make sure your code looks exactly as this one, and then let's just go back to Unity. Okay, so now we're back in Unity. What we need to do now is that uh, now we have a change scene property which is gonna let on Unity understand what to do once we click on this button. And so now we need to do two things. The first thing I need you to understand is that buttons have properties. In this case, this button has a certain property that is called onClick. OnClick is a way that is where we tell Unity what to do. So please now just have type in here in this plus button, and you'll see runtime only, none, and no function. What we want you to do is now just clicking here, change scene, and just drag it and drop it into the none object. Now you'll see that you have the change scene here script, and in function you're gonna click in change scene, and then you are going to oh my god, I know. If you don't see the function, because there's a change scene function, if you don't see here something called change scene, it's because most certainly you have not saved your Visual Studio project. So if you did not, please just go back to Visual Studio and just save your script. So Unity will reload your script, and then it will actually understand what you have coded. So now I reloaded. I saved my code in Visual Studio, and now I should be able to see in function change scene. You'll see now there's a change scene um, property here, and right now there's nothing else we can do in here so far. So let's just do the same. We should save our project now, and what we need to do is we need to create another scene. Let's create another scene. If we go to assets, we go to scenes, you'll see scene 1. We need to create another scene 2, but we don't want to create it from scratch. What we're going to do is just to duplicate it. So just use Control D in your keyboard. Remember Control D, and it's going to create a duplicate of the scene 1. I'm going to rename this scene as scene 2. Nice. And then just double click it. Let's just double click this scene. So this is a duplicate of scene 1, so it should look exactly the same, but now the thing that we want to do is we want to change this image. And I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning of this tutorial we created a second environment material with the second image, 360 image we had. So now we're just going to go to Window, Rendering, Lighting, and it's going to open us the environment here, the environment material. And now remember that we have environment 2 material, which is the one that was in Milan. And as easy as that, we have changed the scene, the environment scene, to the other 360 image. Now we have this button that says go to scene 2 because we have just duplicated the scene. Now we have to change that text, and we're going to change it for let's go back to inspector tab in here, and now go to scene 1. Go to scene 1 and just click on it, and that's it. Just now we have another button that goes to scene 1. So what we are missing, What we're missing now is we need to tell this button that it needs to go to scene to scene 1. So to do so, you see we have to click in here in button, and now we have to go on click, and we have to tell this button that when we click on it, which is the on click property, we need it to go to the first scene. So how do we do that? We have to type in here in scene 1. Well, we can just double click on it, or you can just click on it and then just select the name. What I want you to do right now is only to write in here the name of the scene you want Unity to go once we click this button. And what we do here is that when we click the button, you go to scene 1, which is this name. If you name this scene as another thing, like maybe you say, oh, I want to rename this as scene 1BCD. I mean, you have your very personal name for this scene. Just add it exactly in here. I mean, if your scene 1 is called something else, just write in here the name you had named for it. Well, to the name you gave to it. So just make sure to be consistent. This name should be in here. And now just save this, and let's just go back to our scene 1. And now exactly the same. We need to go to the button, and we need to tell that once we click to this button, we need it to go to the other scene. This scene in case is scene 2. So let's just write it in here. I want you to go to scene 2. Again, just be careful with the syntax. If scene 2 is written with the first capital letter and the rest lowercase letter, just write it exactly as you have named your scene in your project, okay? Make sure to be consistent. Otherwise, your virtual tour is not going to work. Now, this is we're almost done. We can save our project. Now, what we need to do now is just one last step. The one last step is you have to go to build settings, okay? And you need to tell Unity that you want to use scene 1 in the project, and we have add open scenes. The scene that's open is scene 1, so it just opened it in here, and we're telling, okay, we want you to use scene 1 in our project. Now we have to go back in here to scene 2, double click, and again go to file, build settings, and then add open scenes. So now we have told Unity that we want for our project to use scene 1 and scene 2. If you have done everything so far, you can go back to in here to play. Just click on it, and then we're just gonna view what the final result is. And if I click in here, it should go to scene 1, and it actually does. Like you can see around, you see the button. Now I can see go to scene 2, and it goes to scene 2. I can see around, and then if I want to go to scene 1, it's the same. So I can just move around everywhere I want. So, well, this is the end of your tutorial. This is the very basics of VR tours. So please, I'm very glad you could make it so far. I'll be very proud if your program actually does change from scene to scene. And well, this is it for it. See you in another tutorial in the future.